Welcome back to Meg's Mysteries. This story is called The Looking Glass Mystery. The Looking Glass family made their fortune manufacturing, you guessed it, looking glass mirrors. They were known to be the most beautiful, well-made mirrors in the world, the best quality, and in many wealthy homes and even some castles around the world. It was Jonathan Looking Glass who opened up the factory in the 1700s. It's been in the family for centuries. His family became the wealthiest in the small town of Willow's Weep. The town was first called Looking Glass, but it changed later in the years to Willow's Weep because of the legend. More about that later. Jonathan and Martha had a lovely daughter and two sons, Carlotta, Brett, and John. Now her fairy tale story begins. Carlotta met her love, Gregory Adams, who was from a prominent family in town. Their whirlwind romance started at her coming out party. Soon they were engaged. Both families were happy with the up-and-coming union. The engagement party was soon planned and to be the talk of the town, and anyone who was anyone will be attending. Carlotta was so excited, but that will soon change. Modern day. Brandy Looking Glass here, and I have an unexpected but great news. It came by messenger today. I've inherited an inn called Willow's Weep Inn that had been in my family for generations. It was from my father's side of the family. They were wealthy, an old family of Willow's Weep. Long ago they had a company and factory, the Looking Glass Mirror Company, the finest mirrors of that time. They made a fortune selling all over the world. I never knew any of this until now. My father left when he married my mother. She was a school teacher from the town, and the family told him, "You marry outside your class and you'll be disinherited." He didn't care, and he left that life years ago. He made a happy life far away from the town of Willow's Weep. He's the last of the line besides me, but he denounced his family, so I'm the only one to inherit it all. I couldn't wait to tell my best friends the news. Drew Black, Teddy Rosen, and Georgiana Hanover. They were all excited for me and couldn't wait to see it firsthand. So we all went to Willow's Weep to see what I inherited. Maybe we'll all stay and run the place. Finally here, and it's beautiful and picturesque, lush forest and countryside. The town was like a small fairy tale town. The inn on the outskirts was the family home. It looked more like a castle. In modern times, it had been turned into the inn. Not much of the family still lived here. The last was a cousin of my father who recently died, and that's how I inherited everything. It was so lovely. The inn was run by Mr. and Mrs. Millstone. They ran it for the last of the Looking Glass relatives, Dad's cousin, Morris Looking Glass. He was old, and the Millstones have been caring for him and the inn for years. Dad was happy that I inherited it and wished me well, whatever I decide to do, keep it or sell it all. We were shown to our rooms, and I was put on the top floor, the best one, the tower room called Rose Room. The others had their own rooms on the second floor. The whole inn was just like stepping back in time. The Millstones were gracious hosts, and we had an amazing dinner, and everything was perfect. They were very anxious to please us all. The next day we took a tour of the town and the area around the inn. We were also invited for the town's get-together to meet the whole town residents who have lived there for generations. I was happy to accept, since I was thinking of maybe we'll stay and run the inn, with the help of the Millstones, of course. It has been their home, too, as they've been running it for years. Everyone was nice and helpful. One elderly lady came up to us. "Excuse me, my dear, do you know the history of Willow's Weep?" I said, "No, my father never told me about this side of the family and where he came from." "Well, my dear, come to my house tomorrow. I'm Mrs. Wilcock, and the, the town's historian and librarian. I'll fill you in what you should know about the legend. Teddy said, "Oh, a legend. That's wonderful. A small town, like back in time, and a legend to boot." She invited us all to come, and we accepted. She had a little cottage not too far from the inn. We walked over. She had tea and cookies waiting for us. "Please do come in. I don't get many visitors these days." "Thank you for having us," I said. "This is Drew, Teddy, and Georgiana." "Oh, yes, I met them last night. Wonderful to have you young people here." "Welcome all. Tea is ready and the story awaits. Make yourself at home and I will begin." In the 1700s, your family, the Looking Glasses, opened up a factory and had a business here at Willow's Weep. It was the name of the town of Looking Glass, but later was renamed Willow's Weep. But I'll get into that later. Jonathan and Martha had a daughter and 2 sons. She was the eldest. Her name was Carlotta, and her younger brother Brett and John. Brandy, they're your ancestors. She was a beauty and had everyone and everything a young lady would want, many admirers, and the love of her family. The love of her life finally came her way, but it was short-lived. She was engaged to be married to Gregory Adams, and at the engagement party she vanished, never to be found. A shock to everyone. Here's where the story gets good. After she went missing, a ghostly figure of a young lady wandered the forest. Weeping sounds were always heard in the area around the forest and the inn, where it then was the family home. Not only ghost reports for years, but many unanswered deaths started to occur. Men dying in their sleep. Then the legend was made. The legend, it turned into a child's nursery rhyme in later years. "Beware of Willow's Weep, the spirit she will creep, in the dead of night. She will seek all those who sleep. A kiss of death to those who cheat. Their breath she will ever keep." But that's just a silly story. But there were many reports of men not waking up for centuries, from the time she vanished up until now. The last one was a year ago. A man cheated on his wife, then found dead in his own bed. Then she offered us more tea and smiled, "Have a cookie." We just looked at each other. "We do love a good ghost mystery," said Drew. Georgiana said, as we left, "Hope we do find out what happened here. Maybe solve the mystery." Teddy just shook his head. "What have you gotten us into this time, Brandy? It's never dull when we get together, is it? The mystery of Willow's Weep." That night we settled in hopes of sighting something or hearing something. We all went to our rooms. As I entered mine, I noticed the full-length mirror, the looking glass. I didn't take much notice of it before, but now I'm drawn to it. Now it was like it was calling me. So I stand in front of it, and I'm transformed into a young lady of the 1700s. It's me, but not me. It says, "I've been waiting for you. You'll be the one to solve my mystery and my murder." I'm surprised, but I'm not scared, and I asked, "How can I help? Please tell me." Then a knock on my door, and she vanished. Georgiana said, "Do you want me to stay with you? I had a bad feeling something was wrong." I told her, "No, I'm good, but I think Carlotta just came and contacted me through the mirror." We told the others. Teddy said, "She didn't waste time contacting you, did she?" Drew said, "Hope she comes back." They all stayed a while, and I told them to go rest. Maybe she'll come back when I'm alone. So they left me. I got ready for bed and noticed on a dresser a small brooch with a painting. It was Carlotta on it. I held it in my hand and said, "Please come back. Tell me what happened." And I asked her about the legend. She appeared in the mirror. My body was never found, only a piece of my gown on a tree near the cliff. They said I killed myself, but why, no one knew. I'll tell you, and how I died and who murdered me. Also, where you can find me. I tried to tell my story all these years, but no one could see me or hear me. But now you can. My love, my fiance, George. We were all at our engagement party. I lost track of him and went looking. He was near the forest in the garden, but not alone. I saw him in an embrace with my best friend. I confronted him and he laughed and said, "You'll not tell anyone." Then I ran into the forest crying and he followed me and grabbed me. We struggled and he was shouting at me, "You will marry me." I said, "You want my fortune, not me." I told him, "Wedding is off. I'll tell everyone you are a cheater." Then he turned evil looking and in a rage he hit me. I screamed and then he strangled me. He cheated and then killed me without remorse. But I can't rest until my body is found and the truth comes out. I'll show you where I am, and you can finally tell my real story. He left me and came back with one of his servants. They buried me deep in the forest and planted a willow tree over me. It's still there, in a grove of willow trees. Please find me. I also asked her about the legend and if it was real. She said, "Sadly, yes. I was so revengeful. I took my rage on anyone who cheated on their loved one. For centuries I took revenge. No one deserves to be unloved. That is why there's a grove of willow trees around me, one for each of the women who had been cheated on by their man. Almost 100 trees." I said, "You've been killing all these years?" She said, "Yes. He was the first to go. He married my best friend and also cheated on her too. So my spirit rose and I took care of him and all those who cheated. If you find me and put me to rest, the killings will stop. I'm sorry for them, but I had no choice, did I?" Then she was gone. I got the others and told them everything. They couldn't believe it. Then we all saw her, and she showed us the willow grove and her tree, the oldest one in the middle of them all. Her tree gave life to 100 trees around her. So we buried her in the family cemetery as she wished and made the killing stop now. She's at peace, and I made sure her story is known. I sold the inn and the land to the millstones, and the town legend was put to rest. So we're home again, richer, but never the same. We helped her, but she took so many lives along the way. I did feel sorry for her, but was revenge and murdering all those who cheated? Did it help her, or was she just a murderer herself? Drew, Teddy, and Georgiana and I will always remember the legend and the mystery. Hope we can all get back to normal. But here, there's always a mystery around the corner. Until next time. Hope you enjoyed this story from Meg's Mysteries. Until next time, have a good evening.